Hey Warhammer players, welcome. Today we're going to look at a draft that we did at our local shop for fun. This is not official draft rules, but ones that we came up with that work pretty well, that I like. I hope that they do something similar when they do official draft. I'm going to give a little bit of commentary. We're going to look through the whole draft and then show some example games so you can see how it plays out. And I'll give you some of my input and my thoughts on how it went. And if you like it, you can give it a try yourself. So let's get into it. Okay, so for this draft, we're going to do 5 packs. We're going to open each pack one by one. We're going to put aside in your own pile the champions and the blessing in each pack. And then you'll pick one card from the pack and then pass the rest of the stack to the person next to you. The alliance rules is you can have any alliances in your deck. There's no card limit. You can have as many cards as you want in your deck. You still have the champion point limit. We're going to do it so you can run less than 4 champions. So you'll just have an empty lane, and you'll still be able to play any action cards, spells, units, and abilities, but obviously you won't have any quest objectives, and that blessing will not be able to flip over. So if you have 2 or 3 really strong champions, maybe you'll run 2 or 3 champions if that works out. So no alliance restrictions, no card number restrictions, 20-point champion restriction. No restrictions for blessings, so you can have repeat blessings, repeat champions. That's it. Everything else is the same, so there's only those couple of rules. So we'll start with the first pack, and we'll go left for the first pack. So we'll open the first pack, put aside the blessing and the champion. There may be more of one in your pack. And all the cards that you draft are going to be available in your side deck, so you can switch out cards between games. Okay, so thank you, Jason from the past, for that quick rules recap. So yeah, once you take out any blessings or champions, choose one card. We're speeding up 200%, so we can get through this a little bit faster. I think it took around 30 minutes plus to finish the draft completely. We did have some newer players there in the draft, and then one of the guys, he's a TCGer, but hasn't really played Warhammer that much. So a lot of them are reading new cards. Like 2 of the players just play the one faction, and that's it. They don't know the entire card pool. Yeah, so you can see the cards I'm looking at, and kind of see my draft process. I know most of the cards pretty well compared to the other players. So the cards I was looking for is card draw, damage, and removal. Basically anything. I wasn't looking for combo pieces, because it's really hard to get combos off, because you need combo pieces to get the combos off, and you can't always count on getting the combo pieces. So obviously in draft, the play is much different compared to constructed decks. And if you're doing drafts for the first time, if you're not too familiar with drafts, you have to think completely different. You're not going to make a meta deck. You're not going to make a full-blown, beast deck or whatever have you. So a lot of players come to draft thinking that, I'm going to go for this deck or that deck. But you can't do that in a draft. I mean, you can if you're lucky, but it's very unlikely you'll be able to do that. So a lot of people end with a bad taste in their mouth because they think that they just had a crappy deck. But really, everybody has a crappy deck. And that's the difference in draft, is you have to learn how to use the crappy cards that you're handed in the most effective way. So a lot of times you're going to be using cards that you would never put in your deck normally, but in the draft they're going to do a lot of good for you. So with that in mind, you want to look for cards that are powerful in themselves and not looking for another card to combo with them. If a good combo arises, obviously you want to take that, but there's going to be a lot of cards that are just inherently better in draft because it just works by itself. Like the Feasting Bargeist just heals 2 and draws 2, and that's just a good card. So cards that just do a bunch of damage, those are good pulls in the draft. So those are the kind of cards that you want to look out for in draft. So we are allowing for less than 3 champions, and the reason for this is we wanted to give you a little bit of versatility in the champions that you pull. So you're not stuck with just whatever you get points wise. So if you just get 2 expensive champions and then you have to play another crappy champion, or if you just get stuck with a bunch of expensive champions, you might have to run with less than 3 champions because we still have the 2-point card limit. So we did put the rule in there so you can run with less than 4 champions, and that lane can play spells or units. It just can never unlock a quest because it doesn't have any quest objectives. Everyone ran 4 champions in this go around, so that wasn't a problem, or we didn't get to test it. Rather, I don't think it would be a problem. It just gives a little bit of versatility and also a little bit of leeway depending on the cards that you pull. Blessing wise, one player did end with only 3 blessings, so we allowed him to pull a blessing of his choice from his collection to use, but in the spirit of the draft he just chose to run without a blessing. Again, being a draft, they're probably not going to unlock a bunch of blessings because of it's hard to make a synergistic deck in the draft. So let's see, other rules I can talk about. We allow more than 3 of the same card. Then that's just kind of typical in draft a lot of times. You can have duplicate blessings. Again, that's just a limitation of the blessings that you pull. If you just get handed a bunch of the same blessing, you still want to be able to play them. And then being a draft and having extra cards that you build your deck, you're able to switch out cards between games because sometimes stuff doesn't always work out the way you think it will. So in this draft we did 5 packs, which seemed like a good number. You can do 6 packs to be a little bit on the cautious side in terms of blessings and champions that you pull. We did have a good number of champions. Blessings, like I said, we were short by 1. You can do 6 if you want to have a bigger variety, or kind of more consistency. If you're on a budget, you can run 4. I kind of think 5 is a good number, just with some fail safes in place, such as pulling a blessing from your collection. If Play Fusion does this type of draft, I hope that they do around 5, maybe 6, with a discounted price. It is draft, so you do need a handful of packs, so it's obviously more expensive than just paying entry for a constructed deck. We also did the no alliance restrictions, and that again is just to allow more versatility in the draft and not limit you in what you get and have you stuck with, for instance, if you're drafting Chaos and then there just happens to be no Chaos cards coming your way, or if two players are drafting Chaos, and that's going to be spread really thin. It also is really cool because you get new interactions and you're looking at the game much differently than you normally would, because you have different combos that you don't normally have that aren't available to you normally. So yeah, that's the basics in terms of deck building. Everything else is pretty much the same. So let's see what the cards I'm looking at. So everyone had pretty decent decks. In one of the games, I just happened to open up with a god hand. Literally, I had the best hand I could have, and I just won in 3 turns only because I just had a bunch of damage. But that happens in any games if you get a lucky draw and they don't get draws to go to work against you. But the no restriction, no alliance restriction was cool. I like that a lot. Overall, the draft went really well. We didn't have any like glaring issues that we had that you might have in testing a new format, and the players had fun. It's a draft is a cool way to have a different look at the game and also get some cards, and it's a good way to fill out collections because you can rare draft or draft for your collection, not necessarily to win. So draft serves a lot of different purposes, especially after the game has been out for a while and we've all been playing digital. I've been playing so many games on digital. The draft is a really fresh look and really fun look at the game while we wait for the new set. So I'm looking for cards, like I said, that are powerful in and of themselves or possible combos that are being passed around. One thing you can do in draft is once you kind of have some experience is you look at what's being taken from the packs, and you can draft to play against that, or just draft cards that you know that they're going to want because you see them taking a bunch of orcs, or you see them taking a bunch of spells because they think they're going to get a wizard. So at first the spells were being left till the end, and that was probably just because, for one, wizards aren't as good and spells take a long time to go off, but also you have to make sure that you draft a wizard. So if you're drafting, you want to make sure that you draft a wizard and don't pass a bunch of them up thinking, oh, it's going to come back around, because if you don't get a wizard, you're not going to be able to play any of your spells. Everyone was able to do a wizard. I think after everyone took one wizard, the wizards were kind of just being passed around because the warrior wizards are better, obviously, and wizards just aren't that strong right now in the game. So yeah, it's pretty basic. We have that basic rules. Like I said, I hope that Play Fusion does something really similar. I didn't the Light Seekers drafting was kind of confusing. And I hope that they don't do a draft pack like Destiny, because that's not really a true draft. That's kind of like a limited, and everyone just ends up running the cards from the draft pack and then finding the best combo for that. So most of the decks aren't even really that different. They're using the powerful cards from the draft pack and then just complementing it. So I really wasn't a fan of the draft pack drafts like they did in Destiny. Okay, so let me start talking about some of the cards I'm looking at in my thought process. It's pretty basic. Like I said, just looking for powerful cards that do a lot of stuff themselves, either card draw or a lot of damage. We're getting to the end of the pack, so this is all trash that no one wants, and just taking the worst card or the second worst card and passing the other one on. So looks like we're gonna get to our last pack here. So at this point, everyone kind of has an idea of how their decks are and what they're drafting. So it goes a little bit quicker. Let's see what I pull here. So I'm looking. So first, we're putting aside the blessings and champions. So we did that in the beginning to draft afterwards. So I'm looking at the healing. That's a lot of healing. That vampire just does 5 damage, and it's front loaded in terms of the corners, so it just does damage right away when it comes out, which is good. So that's a 5 damage card by itself. I think I was considering that healing card. So the Brute Smashes is 4 damage. I took the extra actions. Extra actions is always good, obviously, especially in this format, because there's not a lot of builds that are building for removal, because you have limited removal of what you're sent. So here I'm looking at the removal. I'm also using at that 10 damage spell there. I was considering a Liberator. I think I was considering some of the actions too. I needed some actions. So Opportunity Strike was one that I put in my deck. Feasting Vargeist is just a good card. It's a free turn on his third corner, +2 healing. So you can see I'm going pretty quick, and the hands are going pretty quick because everyone knows what they need to fill out their deck and knows what kind of deck they're building at this point. So damage reduction, I didn't have too much in my deck yet, so I pulled that. And that one, the meat shield stays on the board, so you don't have to worry about playing at the same time as damage coming. You just play it out, and then it waits there, which is really good for draft format, because you don't always know what they're going to have or what they're going to play. Like you can in Constructed, you kind of know what they're going to do. So I think I'm going to take this damage card probably. So I took the play restriction, so you can't play a unit when that guy's out, and he does a good bit of damage. So now we're looking at we're gonna draft our champions, and so for champions, I was looking for champions that are very generic on their quests, so that are just units, damage, ability. If you have a champion that has those three, that one's really good. It's hard to do ones that are want risen units, for example, or removal, because you don't always have removal when you don't always have it when you want it. I think I take the Garrote Shaman here just for fun because I really like that guy, and I actually think in draft he's pretty powerful because you can stay alive with his ability, and you have less tools in draft to get around his ability. So I'm looking through my deck right now to see what I have to work with the champions. So I'm looking at for well, I didn't take the Garrote yet. I'm looking for a wizard at this point. I want to make sure I get a wizard. Again, for those spells. Yeah, so that's a guy that boosts abilities. So I took him because he's just straight up damage. And he has easy quests, just abilities and units. I took that Crypt Haunter again for his corners. So all the champions I took are just for easy corners, or if they have a really strong ability that I can use. If it's going to take a bunch of cards to combo with it, then I'm not going to take that champion. So far I didn't get really any strong ones like, you know, Gordrak or something like that, or Aspect of the Sea that just has a really strong ability. I just took super generic corners. And then the Crypt Haunter that heals you at less than 5, I think that one's pretty good in draft because it's hard to do big bursts in draft. So when you get close to dying, that one's gonna heal you and give you a little bit more staying power. So again, this is just kind of trash being passed around, and at this point you're usually just taking stuff that you don't want other people to have that you're probably not going to use because all the good stuff has been picked already. Then we go to Blessings. Blessings is pretty straightforward because there's a limited number. Everyone got 4 except for one person got 3. And then we'll go into deck building after that. But yeah, when you're doing draft, if you're not used to it, you just have to understand this is a totally different game. Don't get frustrated because you think you have a bad deck. Just draw powerful cards. Read the card. If it's powerful, then take it. Is a good strategy when you're starting. Don't try to build a meta deck. Don't try to go for crazy combos. If you get one card that works, for instance, if it just boosts damage, then or if it boosts damage with Oryx or something like that, if you can draw a bunch of Orc, then draw that card. Otherwise, that's not really a good card. Okay, now we're gonna build our deck. My buddy Arhenis is asking me for some advice on his champions. You can go high over there. I can go high in the corner. Yeah. So I'm telling them warrior wizards are pretty powerful because you can play spells and abilities, and to keep in mind the corners on his champions. So you can see I have a bunch of generic corners on my champions, so I can have a better chance of getting blessings. I'm not really even counting on getting blessings. They're kind of just, if I can get there, I can. My blessings, I only have 4, so that's what I'm running. I put the Grot Shaman in there just for fun, and also to keep me alive towards the end. So now I'm separating my cards into different types. I like to do this in drafts so I can kind of get a good overview of what kind of cards I have. So right now I think I usually do defensive, damage cards, utility cards, and then some kind of like gimmick cards. Reduce damage by the corner, but it only looks at that spot. So it's here, it looks at the lane in front. But it stays there for 1 turn, and then next turn it turns out. Because it's a circle, that means it automatically turns. So, and I also have a pile of cards where there's probably no way I'm ever going to play them, that they're just not good cards. So I mostly put in just like a bunch of damage cards and then flesh it out with some utility cards, like cards that are going to be actions or a little bit of health, and then a few defensive cards. But the main thought process was just kind of getting as much damage as quickly as possible. So I have War Chant there too, just because that's a free draw, and you can also get some damage out of that, some decent damage out of that for free, basically, besides the card play. But I think I might have ended up taking it out because I just had too many spells. So I'm counting there to see how many I actually have that I might want to use to get my deck numbers or my card numbers in my deck. And then I'm kind of filtering through spells that I might want to use. So the discard, Frightful Touch discard, is pretty powerful in draft because that's basically you're killing a turn for them. They have to draw 2, which is a turn to make up for that. So either you play it when they can't draw, or you use it as a control play to force them to play in that lane. And it's 4 damage, which is a decent amount of damage for turn 2, 4 damage after you play the card. So I'm putting my abilities in there and seeing which abilities are actually going to help me. So this pile looks like is more defensive. So lane control, removal, damage reduction. So I think I passed up the lane control and just went for a little bit of damage reduction, but mostly put just straight up damage. This is a utility pile, so those are extra turns that I put in there right now. So now I'm looking at damage. So I'm evaluating the amount of damage and how fast the damage comes out. So if the damage comes out in the first turn, that's a bonus. If I have to wait 4 corners to get the full effect of the card, then that's not as good. The chaos damage boosters are really good, especially in this format because you have a lot that you can use with it. So I think those are like really good cards to draft in this set. So this is just basic deck building. That's the thing about draft is it's a completely different skill set because you can't just pull the meta list off the internet. You have to be able to build decks and build them on the fly and evaluate the cards and what's going to be good and what's not. And not everyone is good at that. So draft takes a combination of good gameplay, good deck building, and good analysis and knowledge of the game. So here I'm laying out my deck. kind of see the cards that I went with. It's mostly damage. It's damage that come out early and high damage, some damage boosters, a few damage reduction, and then a few utilities like War Chant, removal, and some life gain in there. Yeah, you can see I didn't put any kind of combos where I'm trying to do so laying out again in order. So I'm not trying to get a bunch of combos that require this card and that card, or this card is useless unless I have these other cards. Everything that I'm going to play is going to have, or those are the cards that I didn't use. Everything that I play is going to have a good use. And I don't have to worry about a certain situation or comboing with another card and having it being a dead card. So we're going to go to gameplay, and then I'll leave you to view the gameplay and see how it goes. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Just one?
No, me. When I did the spells. When these guys are supposed to, I did not yours.
Okay. So at 28?
It depends on your life.
Oh.
I cut.
Okay.
Two.
Let's try the changing.
Oh, okay. Starts out at 30, right? Yeah. So I would do negative
28. Under 28.
and then 1, 2, and then 1, and then 2, and 2.
Your turn.
My turn. Alright.
The only progress is if I remove what I already did in there. I'll go first then.
Furious Strike for 6.
6?
Yeah. You do have Fire Blast. It does 10 damage to you, 3 damage to me on the last corner.
My turn?
Yeah.
Alright.
This one down.
Oh wait. I'm at 29. Couple.
Take 2 damage. Another draw 1.
Draw 1. Oh, he did 1 damage. So he's turns.
What?
Your turn.
Okay. So now return. Take 2 damage. I highlighted unit.
Increases it.
Increases by your highlighted unit or my highlighted unit?
Yours is green.
No damage to your opponent increase. To your opponent's. Other from highlighted unit. This is highlighted unit.
Yeah, so next to on your side is green.
Oh, I have to be on my side. Okay. So you take 2 damage.
Yeah.
And then you do 2 damage to your opponent. 2 damage.
Your turn.
Yeah,
3.
I'm gonna
1,
draw.
2, 3. And you take 2. And we'll draw.
1 damage.
for my turn.
Oh, you can't play it because he's not a wizard.
As a spell.
Yeah, he's not a wizard, so he can't play a spell.
What? Did you last week?
Dang,
Two
that sucks.
damage. You take damage.
There's a card that you can switch on. It's really good.
Damage
She
to
got
your
it.
opponent. Highlighted units are dormant. So 2 damage, and then these are dormant. So that. And then there's the
Oh, this is even better.
which means they don't turn or do anything. Until this and until this is up. Entonces I'm gonna put down.
I'll drop. Go ahead.
Finish it.
2. And I'm still cocky.
No.
So this. I'll draw 1.
Alright. My turn?
Yeah.
Why don't you take him as well?
Then I'm gonna draw.
3-3. And I will
But they can still pull off abilities.
up here.
And spells.
Yeah.
It's units only.
So I'll draw.
So the spell is okay.
3 damage.
The spell rotates?
Yeah.
3 damage?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
More chant and draw.
And 1, right?
No.
No, 3 total.
This. 1
Oh,
health.
I should have put it then.
Who's that doing?
This is healing, healing, and then draw cards.
Oh, wait,
On
no,
top of it.
I'll do this. Remove. Plus 3.
I know. This is for your own unit, so.
Onto this champion.
Really?
So,
That's dumb. Let's see.
okay, so reduce damage. But now it's dormant because it's a unit. Now it's dormant because it's a unit.
It's a cocky.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking.
3 damage to it.
No, it's not. So 3,
And.
4,
Wait, I can't use that.
Play that here.
Oh, yeah.
because he takes damage.
I will draw. What?
No, it's dormant.
1 health. 4 chant, draw 1.
So take 1, right?
No,
Uh-huh.
it's a draw. Do this, 1 damage.
No, I will take nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Reduce this.
And I'll draw 1. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, let's go.
I'm just gonna use this ability to use it.
Let's get card draw. It's one of my favorite spells.
Draw 1 card in this slot. So just in case.
One.
Draw 2. 1 damage.
I take 2, right?
No, 1 from him. This is draw 2.
Oh.
And then
No. Remove. And then 2 damage.
2 damage?
Yeah.
draw.
Your turn.
Alright, so I draw.
Okay.
No, I don't draw.
Damage to yourself? Yeah. First and third.
Move. My damage.
Two damage.
Mystic Shield reduces it by 2.
Blessing. Increase damage done to your opponent by all of my spells.
So because it did a
So
spell,
this does 2 damage.
I get it.
Again?
Did a spell.
Again?
That's the first time.
I did take it.
That's for him. He did 2 and then he did 2.
Alright.
And then Lag Ceremony, so these 2 are dormant. Like them with Foobud. And I draw 1 card for each dormant card, so I draw 2. Good job. Okay.
Yeah, no. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take 1 damage.
That would reduce the 6 damage received from the T. So these 2. This one is going to get an extra 10 of
Lag
this.
Ceremony.
Oh, the fucking that thing is a hand size, huh?
I'll draw 1.
Alright. I got
Yeah.
Cards now?
For 4, I reduce 1, so
8.
3. And then I reduce another 1, so that's 2.
I can use it like this, right? So, 6 damage?
Outside of the reading level, it's appropriate. Reading level is probably this one might not be used. This stuff right here is like the words and then.
Oh, and you take 1 damage because of that?
None of the comics that are published by DC or Marvel are explicit or gratuitous or whatever. If you find them watching the movies,
Backwards or forwards. Okay, so I take the damage. This reduces stuff. So 2. And then you're pushing this one forward.
Yes, 1 damage. And we'll just draw 1.
So 1 extra action. This goes away. So
Alright, so when that goes away, I gain 2.
So you removed it.
no, it's when it's removed. It's different. This is just exhausting. So it has to remove from like a card effect. But the other 2, 4 total.
Doesn't he switch?
No, because they're dormant from this, so they don't turn.
Get an extra action.
3 actions.
He reduces stuff.
Alright.
He gives me an extra action.
Some ability damage. Active your opponent and the champion controls this.
This.
5.
You want
1 action and then I'm going to drop 6.
do this. The damage reduction is increased by the support under the card. So it's 3 right now. I'll do a heroic act to deal you 1 damage. So then I'll get this blessing. So increased damage done from the highlighted by the corner.
Alright. My turn?
Yeah.
Do that.
So 1. And this reduces on
You
the
take the
T,
damage?
So 1.
Does it matter which way it goes?
Yeah, I think I told you that.
Yeah, it starts normal.
No, I know, but then it can go like that. Or does it have to
It
go?
always goes counterclockwise. When you gain 1 life on the beginning.
So if I trigger
Oh,
units
that's
effects,
not. Shoot.
Jason, if I trigger units effects, that means it does their damage again. So our phase is going to take our damage.
One
Okay,
day.
one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It is what it is.
1 action,
Well, I think it's
2 health,
How everything.
So,
2 damage, reduce stuff.
That's what it is.
You have this,
yeah.
so it does nothing.
So it does what? Do I take damage?
It does
No,
that.
this is health.
Oh,
Just this one does damage.
okay.
Did you have like stacks like this for all of them?
No, some of the more important ones I have more of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like
Help.
Michonne.
Michonne.
Yeah.
The first issue.
Spell it.
Yeah. Which one? This one or this one? That's the first issue. Okay. Yeah, this one's cool. This one I saw and I'm like, yeah, I gotta get that one. Because I have a reprint of one. I have the 75, and then I have the one.
Draw 3.
And it's just to like go really good with all.
Roger.
Swing your guys first.
Let's go. Let's go. I gain a health.
So 3.
Yeah, I want to get them all. I think I'll see just this one. Yeah. Sweet. And you still have any of those Skybound boxes?
The one with the thing?
Yeah.
Yep. There's one there.
One left?
this. 1 damage. It's increased by 1.
I should even buy this one, but I'm like, okay.
So 2.
It's alright. 2%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially if I get shopping.
So action, 2, 3 health, and 2, 3.
Have a good evening.
So 3 actions,
1 damage, 2.
2 damage.
Damage to your opponent and additional.
Oh, plus 4, plus 2, so 4 total.
It's in a
Hey, 1 minute time.
Do 1 damage. Swap position of any 2 highlighted champions. Gain 1 additional action this turn. So I can switch my champions. When you switch, everything switches. So like all this switches with all this. And I'll draw 2. Go ahead. You have more cards than I can even play. Who won? Shikaki?
Hold on that too. And then I will.
Yeah. 13.
Mhm. Use his ability. This card. Well, that was an action, right? That's
Yeah. So this does 2, 4 damage.
4 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go first now or do you want to?
I have my champions. I'm gonna remove that.
Huh?
Remove that guy, and then I spin him back. So then he'll do 2 plus 3, so then he'll do 5 damage. Then I'll play War Champ. So this lets me draw, and then if it's a unit, I can play it. Your turn.
Draw.
2 damage. War Champ. It does 1 damage and then 1 damage again. So 2 total. At 3. Let's draw 2.
My turn?
Yeah. I'll draw 2.
Two.
That removes, right?
Yeah.
4 damage. So reduced by 3 from him.
Two reduced by 3.
After 1 damage gain extra turn, this one will do 1 damage once it's here, and you cannot deploy units after it gets to 3.
Drop. This is
So these first. Nothing. And then 2 damage. Play this. Stacking. So he does damage, increased by 1 per support. I'll do this. It's 2 plus 3 if you have a spell, so 5.
5.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Again. How many cheat cards left in my deck?
All the good ones will come.
Should drew more.
2 damage to your opponent.
This ability has to be 10 cards.
Oh my god.
So you can play it.
What is the next thing?
I'll move.
So you get 3.
Well, you can change your deck out too if you want.
Yeah,
See? So cocky.
no, and if I get one of these,
Good luck. For the top 4. And then this corner I draw. Not going.
oh, wait.
See how cocky you are. I started 0 life. I'll still win. Yeah. I heal on.
Let's discard a card.
Take 1 damage.
If I don't have anything going on, you guys don't have anything going on, it's just good luck. I'll go again.
What's that?
Huh? What do you want? If both of us aren't doing anything after or before, it's just good luck. I'll go again. Do you want to?
Yeah, but I did damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that counts. Okay. Here. Then you lose my focus.
And draw.
And then you just get me with this one, it just becomes.
Oh, but if you have the girls though. Don't have the room.
Oh, if I have the girls in one.
Yeah.
So far, I've only done no actions.
What?
Drinking. And then I try.
It's 4 and 5.
1 damage.
So anyways, reduce by 2.
I draw 3.
This.
Then I gain
You
1.
actually just red damage. So
Does it reduce them?
yes. So this one. This ability.
This is ability.
What's that?
Well, it's just
Gain
ability.
1 health and then 2 minutes from
Yeah.
just a time. Another one.
It's increased by
It's your deck.
champion.
It's your deck.
To my deck.
You can put it on that. I thought you had to be on.
Right?
Warriors.
Just to do the shuffle.
Warriors. Yeah, please. But they have this. But they can't. But they actually go to 6.
From here. He doesn't go to
So take how much?
speed of all you want.
But plus 3.
Dang, so enough. Fuck.
Okay, so that wasn't the that was one action and then
Sure. Two down introduced. Draw 2.
So how does this work game? Instead of me taking damage I gain,
Yes.
instead of you gain damage I gain.
Yeah. So I don't take any damage.
Do this.
You just gain.
So these are dormant, and then I draw a card.
for every.
I'll highlight you. Give us a copy.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be proud that I know it.
And then I'll do this, 5 damage. 2 plus 3 for if you have a spell.
So that doesn't reduce it.
Oh yeah, so
So 3.
that's even.
Oh, I gain 1 health because I deployed a spell over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna
This.
do this because I'm and then back into
It's a pretty good card.
it
I
is.
started using it in the
I see
second
you
wave.
use it on the app.
Yeah, because like him,
You take 1,
get the healing, and then I'll just the ability.
increase the damage now from a highlighted unit on the last corner.
I think that's fine. These two, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try something.
So I draw 2. No, yeah, draw 2.
Yeah.
Damn, so far though.
Oh, good.
That was good.
Thanks if you have 8 on there. Do you have it?
Do you have it? Do you have a card?
Not in my hand. I'm waiting for it. People like curious about what they have.
I'll draw 1.
Oh, right. This plus the way that's good. And then I'm gonna.
You think I get more of my little cut?
Sure moves.
And then I'm gonna play this spell so it restarts.
Oh, but not till it goes there though.
Not until it goes into the next one. And then nothing happens here. And then I'm gonna.
So this will go away before that restarts it.
Oh, you're right. I should have just gone with 2.
You take it back.
I'll take it. Sorry,
Mom said,
I'm gonna
You
put
take
it.
1 damage from him.
Mom said we're gonna stay this lane.
I don't put this in there. Happen for a while. And then.
Or I have to discard when it goes.
Huh? Wait. That's why I use it.
Oh. Tell me she
Yeah, you could have played this first and then played this. Probably then you'll draw. So whatever. Wait, it's not sure.
So you start on activation rogue things.
So 1 damage, 2, 3 damage, 2 draw.
So every time I activate it,
3 damage.
it does to the corner.
I'm gonna do this. I'm going to activate his corner and then discard it. So draw 2.
That's way too many. Okay, suicide.
Make her.
He's finishing his last one.
What's that?
Trevor reminds me of that guy.
I'm gonna draw 2.
5 damage. 2 more chant. Nothing.
I might actually have to play 1.
2 damage. So it'll be 2 damage reduction.
3 damage.
That? So it's a demon thing, right?
Yes. So this is a demon you get from So this would be the actually ability.
So it's not this.
No. So this means you have to play a demon unit. So you hit with this little C.
Yeah. So I gain 3.
Wait. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
So reflex.
Then I'll use his effect.
It's
This
random.
card.
So you can't block it.
Go ahead.
And then I'm gonna draw 2.
Are you looking for that card? Did I have damage here?
No, they're all spells and my wizard and then the not really good spells for the one over there.
My 3 damage. 4 chant. And then 2, so 5 total. This 2 damage.
I'll activate this one for 4 damage.
2 damage?
And I'll do this heroic for a third. 2 damage lesson. So 3 damage. Listed weapons increase damage from highlighted units. So here, 2. And it turns each time it increases. Your turn.
So you gain 2.
How much? 5.
So do 4 damage.
Move. Okay, 5. And then
Reduction.
This champion, you get rotate it.
oh
And then you roll it for 1 damage. My blessing.
yeah. And the flat attack.
Same with blessing weapons. Yeah.
That's it. I drew it.
Please insert additional coin. Attention parents, please do not leave your child unattended while riding a ride. Reserve your right, kids.
So I did 1 damage. But
That's
it's lower
special
and lowered. So not that
So that one was a lot closer. You were waiting for most of it.
Please insert additional coin. Attention parents, please do not leave your child unattended.
So hold on, start putting them down.
Well, you have to put them down, you just get modify your language.
Oh.
Next one, plus 4, plus 5, so just plus 1. All the champions out first.
Yeah.
Oh, I got red teeth. You want to have my your favorite? You like playing against?
So you take all your champions.
Cut.
Orders, but my hands.
Yeah, you can put them anywhere you want.
Alright, so -2. Go for it, right? For your strike, 6 damage. On fire, does 10 damage on the 4th one. Your turn. One of the best combos, him with him, and then a deadly chop. So you do that, because they always play a card there, and you do damage to do this, and then you do removal, and you automatically get the blessing, because it does two objectives with 1 card.
Please watch me still not be able to do that. Okay, and then
No.
Down reduction.
Yeah, you got it.
no.
No.
No, it's only if you use it as an action.
So this is down reduction. And then I'll draw 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any damage, so that doesn't activate.
I can use these abilities too. Yeah.
Or like action means you use an action to do it, and these other ones just go off interaction to other things. This. And then I'll draw 1.
7.
He reduces the max sheet.
So 10, 11. This is 2, boost it by 1. 3 damage. Okay, this first corner is damage reduction, and the second corner is damage.
Damage to your opponent. Reduce damage received. So do you take 3 damage?
Damage to opponents. I take 3 and reduce damage received from by 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take 3 and I reduce it.
I'll reduce by 3.
Rotate.
So 2, 4,
Seconds. Yeah, that was my 6 second on it. So nuisance. And then now we're doing damage.
and then do roll it for 1 damage.
Increase by 1%.
I just got really lucky. I got a really good hand.
Yeah.
It was. Look, it was like
No, no, I believe you.
the perfect hand.
That was it. Just my dead something.
I know it is. I can tell. I can tell how you're so cocky.
Okay, nice.
Oh.